There's a number. Most Gen X people have one. A retirement target. The amount they've decided means they can finally stop. Some arrived at it through a financial calculator. Some guessed based on what they'd heard. Some adopted a figure from a colleague over lunch and never revisited it. That number feels like a plan. It feels like responsibility. It feels like something a serious adult built after serious thought. But here's what almost nobody has actually verified. Where that number came from, whether it reflects what retirement genuinely costs, and why the math behind it is most likely missing approximately $400,000. That gap isn't the result of bad luck. It isn't one wrong decision. It's 5 assumptions, each one reasonable on its own, each one quietly wrong in ways that compound with every passing year, that together add up to a retirement plan that falls significantly short of what comfort actually requires. The answer to why is more uncomfortable than most people expect. And for most Gen X people, the math hasn't been questioned yet. Like, subscribe, and let's start. Number 1, the savings rate mistake, half of what's actually needed. Here's where the math starts going wrong. Most Gen X people contribute somewhere between 6% and 8% of their income to retirement savings. It's what the employer suggested at enrollment. It's what qualified for the employer match. It felt like the responsible number. And for 20 years, the contributions went in automatically while life happened around them. The problem is that 6% was never the right number. It was the minimum, and minimum was mistaken for sufficient. Financial research consistently points to 15% to 20% of gross income as the contribution rate needed for a genuinely comfortable retirement. Not a luxurious one, just a comfortable one that doesn't require radical downsizing or constant anxiety about running out. On a $70,000 annual salary, here's what that difference looks like over 20 years. Contributing 6%, $350 per month, invested at 7% annual return over 20 years, produces $182,000. Contributing 15%, $875 per month, same return, same time frame, produces $456,000. Difference, $274,000. From the same salary, the same market, the same 20 years, just a different percentage that nobody corrected. And here's the part that compounds the damage. Most Gen X people got salary increases over those 20 years, but the contribution percentage stayed where they set it in the first year. The raise went to lifestyle. The retirement account kept receiving the same fixed amount, while everything around it got more expensive. The savings rate mistake alone accounts for the majority of the $400,000 gap. But it doesn't account for all of it. Because even the people who saved enough often made a second mistake that quietly added another layer of damage. Number 2, the inflation mistake, planning for a world that no longer exists. Ask most Gen X people what inflation rate they used in their retirement calculation. Most will say 2%. Some will say 3%. Almost none of them will say, I didn't use one, even though that's effectively what happened when they estimated their monthly retirement budget without adjusting it forward through time. Here's what inflation actually does to a retirement plan. A $3,500 monthly retirement budget today, reasonable for a modest but comfortable life in most developed countries, needs to grow every year just to buy the same things. At 2% annual inflation over 20 years, the cumulative cost of that retirement comes to approximately $1,040,000. At 3.5% annual inflation, closer to the real experience of retirees who spend more on healthcare and services that inflate faster than general consumer prices, the cumulative cost over the same 20 years is approximately $1,229,000. Difference, $188,000. From one assumption, one number that most people never consciously chose, they just left it at the calculator default and moved on. And retiree inflation consistently runs higher than general inflation. Healthcare, home maintenance, services. The specific categories that older people spend more on tend to increase faster than the headline numbers. The 2% assumption feels safe. It's optimistic in a way that becomes expensive by year 10. but the inflation mistake pales next to the one almost nobody plans for at all. Number 3. The lifespan mistake. The years that weren't in the plan. Here's the question most retirement calculators ask. How long do you expect to live? Most Gen X people enter 80, maybe 82. It feels realistic. It might even feel slightly generous. It's probably wrong. According to data from health authorities across developed English-speaking countries, 1 in 4 people who reach age 65 today will live past 90. Not a small minority, 1 in 4. And average life expectancy across these countries is already in the low to mid-80s, which means a significant portion of the population lives considerably beyond that average. A retirement plan to last 15 years, from 65 to 80, that actually runs 25 years, carries an enormous unplanned cost. 5 extra years of retirement at $3,500 per month, $210,000. 10 extra years, $420,000. Not from extravagance, not from unexpected events, just from being alive longer than the spreadsheet assumed. And those additional years don't arrive cheaply. The final decade of life tends to carry the highest costs. Healthcare, support, care needs, precisely when the retirement portfolio has been drawn down the longest and has the least capacity to absorb additional pressure. Gen X is planning for the retirement their parents had. The data says they'll need to fund something significantly longer. And the most expensive part of those extra years, the part nobody budgets for, is what we talk about next. Number 4. The healthcare mistake. The budget line that's always too small. Ask a Gen X person how much they've budgeted for healthcare and retirement. The answers range from, "I have insurance," to vague numbers between $50,000 and $80,000 over the retirement period. The research says the actual figure is more than double that. Studies examining out-of-pocket healthcare costs for individuals in retirement, accounting for insurance premiums, co-payments, dental, vision, medications, and care needs, consistently find lifetime healthcare costs in retirement in the range of $150,000 to $200,000 per person. That's not a catastrophic illness scenario. That's the baseline expectation for a reasonably healthy person moving through their 60s, 70s, and 80s with normal age-related healthcare needs. The gap between what most Gen X people budget, approximately $60,000, and what the data suggests they'll actually spend, approximately $175,000, is $115,000 per person. And healthcare inflation runs faster than general inflation. The cost of medical services, medications, and care has consistently increased at rates above the General Consumer Price Index in most developed countries. The $175,000 estimate in today's terms will be higher by the time it's actually needed. This is the budget line Gen X consistently underestimates, not out of carelessness, because healthcare costs in later life are genuinely difficult to visualize from 55. They feel abstract. They feel distant. They feel like something to figure out later. Later arrives on schedule. Number 5. The withdrawal rate mistake, taking too much too soon. Here's the final mistake, and it's the one that can undo everything else. After decades of accumulating, retirement requires switching to decumulation, drawing money out instead of putting it in. And that switch requires a decision that most Gen X people haven't made consciously: how much to withdraw each year. Many Gen X people, looking at their portfolio balance and doing rough mental math, settle on a withdrawal rate that gives them a monthly income close to what they're used to, something around 6% to 7% of the total portfolio annually. That rate runs the money out in approximately 18 years. Retire at 65, portfolio depleted by 83. Then what? Financial research on sustainable withdrawal rates, most notably the studies behind what's commonly called the 4% rule, suggests that withdrawing approximately 4% of the portfolio annually, adjusted for inflation, gives a high probability of the portfolio lasting 25 to 30 years across varying market conditions. On a $600,000 portfolio, a 4% withdrawal, $24,000 per year, $2,000 per month. A 6.5% withdrawal, $39,000 per year, $3,250 per month, but depleted in approximately 18 years. The extra $1,250 per month costs 10 years of financial security. And here's what makes this the most psychologically difficult mistake to correct. The higher withdrawal feels like finally enjoying what was earned. It feels like the reward. Taking less feels like deprivation after a lifetime of discipline. But the math doesn't respond to feelings. It responds to rates and time. The real number. So where does $400,000 come from? It comes from the gap between what the median Gen X household has saved for retirement, approximately $650,000 according to retirement research across English-speaking countries, and what a genuinely comfortable 25-year retirement actually requires, approximately $1,050,000. That gap is roughly $400,000, and it was built one mistake at a time. A savings rate set at enrollment and never revisited. An inflation assumption of 2% on a world that inflated faster. A lifespan estimate that stopped at 80 for someone who will likely see 87. A healthcare budget that covered the easy years and ignored the expensive ones. A withdrawal rate that felt like enjoying retirement while it was quietly ending it. None of these mistakes are dramatic. None of them announce themselves. They're quiet. They're reasonable. They're exactly what happens when the math is built on assumptions nobody questioned. The number to aim for isn't what felt right when the retirement calculator was run. It's what the actual costs, inflation-adjusted, healthcare included, lifespan honest, require the money to do. Run the real numbers, not the comfortable ones, because the $400,000 mistake isn't made in one decision. It's made in 5 small ones, each of which felt completely right at the time. Give me your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you in the next video.